People are increasingly purposeful about how they want to live their lives, how they want to spend their time. And the districts of the future will be places that not only facilitate that, but anticipate how we will want to live. District architecture is the stewardship, management, curation of either an existing neighborhood or a proposed neighborhood into a living, breathing, 24-hour place that anticipates the way we'll live in the future. If you look at the last 2 decades, what you see is the amenitization of program that drives development. And what we're seeing now is developers looking to create entire neighborhoods that act as amenities for this type of office, residential, or hotel program. KPF's involvement with district architecture really started many decades ago, where we were doing multiple buildings or entire district working with a single developer to create a 24-hour neighborhood. Gradually, those became bigger and bigger to the point where we were considering not just a single building, but collections of buildings and the spaces in between them. Now we're doing that on a variety of projects.
Looking at around us here today, it's really hard to imagine what was here when we first started the project. This was a train yard for the Long Island Railroad, a void in the city, really. To make this happen, we really had to create the land for our project, and that is the platform. The platform is a truss structure connected to the High Line and actually has connection to 33rd Street and to 11th Avenue. Huge trusses, 6-story high trusses. Part of the retail building is hung, part of it goes down to the tracks. The whole thing was really interwoven between the architecture that was above and then the structure for the platform itself. During the whole construction period, the trains were using the rail yard. Those towers would not be possible if we had not also been involved with the platform. We really had to do it all, and we actually sped up everything by knowing what was going on above and below the platform.
I think Covent Garden is a part of London that's universally liked. It appeals to the broadest cross-section of people. It's where many people's journey in London begins. But 20 years ago, the area was largely avoided by Londoners. We were brought on to improve the visitor experience and rebalance the mix of uses. So we reconsidered various sites across the estate, a series of projects that both upgraded existing conditions and added a new layer of contemporary architecture. And our work at Floral Court is perhaps most representative of this approach. The Floral Court is an assemblage of buildings around a public space that wasn't here before. We created the public space, the courtyard, and the passages leading to that. And the buildings are the framework for the public space. The public space is primary. It's not about any single building.
I think Floral Court is like a little microcosm of Covent Garden in a way. It has all of the kind of experiences and juxtaposition of different building types and characters that you get around the whole of Covent Garden, and it also has that kind of sense of discovery, the courtyard that we're sat in today, at the heart of that, and every time you come to it, it feels like another little discovery.
I mean, we think of Floral Court's courtyard as being a room. It's an outdoor room. We're trying to create a sense of refuge from the outside, a contrast from the outside. The outside's busy, the inside's quiet, and its finishes and its materiality and its character should feel different. We had a unique opportunity because of the singular ownership of the Covent Garden estate by our client. And that allowed us to establish the relationships between the 8 different buildings and the relationships between the 8 buildings of Floral Court and the larger master plan, to design and create a precinct and curate an entire environment in the middle of central London, which would not be possible if you're only working on one building.
The vision is a new downtown core for San Jose that is primarily Google, but it's envisioned as sort of an urban condition, an urban setting. So there's a really great mix of residential, office, amenities, restaurants, all stitches together and become a new part of San Jose. The architecture will be inspired by some of the elements that are existing on the site today. That industrial kind of gritty texture, something that's quite authentic for this new downtown core.
The Downtown West San Jose project has a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people involved for a project that's big, over 80 acres. There's a time frame working out for the next 2.5 decades. And so our role as district architect is to help lead the team forward, foresee things that need to be thought of ahead of time before design teams are in place, but then also deal with the interfaces and the coordination between teams as they get put on board for the different parcels. This is all happening at once, so somebody needs to be there to preserve the design of the master plan in the district.
This is exactly where the experience of KPF comes in. Being a district architect is a multi-year, often multi-decade commitment. Front of house, back of house, infrastructure, active use, landscape, all of that together. We have a deep bench and architects who will stay the course.
In the early 2000s, the city of Boston decided it was important to have an innovation district because of all the great science education and other institutions of higher learning in Boston. They were losing talent. And so the Boston Seaport was identified, 23 acres of what was mostly parking lots. As master planners, the key was to distribute uses in this connected way, but also to think about the enclosures and the sense of space that vertical construction, that buildings would give to the place, make it feel like a neighborhood. And in fact, it's been a great success. A new downtown just adjacent to the existing downtown. So I think it's one of the developments in any American city we can point to and say that a new piece of a city is capturing the energy of new technology and forward-thinking urbanism that's actually been achieved in the last 20 years.
If you think about what the neighborhood of the future is going to look like, how it's going to act, they're going to be places that people want to invest their time. They're going to want to go back to over and over and over again. Changing, vibrant neighborhoods, active, with a feeling of authenticity. Success for these neighborhoods will be measured not in years, but in generations. And the way to achieve those neighborhoods is to have a firm championing their success. A district architect who shepherds the neighborhood from conception to implementation to multiple evolutions.